everybody. I think we're going to get started because we've got a great presentation. Welcome to the Fauquier Chambers virtual town hall meeting. We're so excited today because we've got a fabulous program. And I want to first tell everybody, please go ahead and mute yourselves, and the speakers will then be unmuted when they will be speaking. But I really want to, before I even introduce the speakers for today, I want to thank Amelia Stansel from the UVA Community Credit Union. Amelia, are you able to show your face here? And so give us a little bit of background about who the UVA is and what the credit union is and what you do.
Great. Well, good morning. I hope everybody has their cup of, well, you can sort of see my cup of coffee if I hold it just right, right? I'm actually calling in from the beach, so luckily I made this yesterday, so it's behind me and it's not quite so having what's really behind me. But want to say good morning to everyone, and I'm thrilled that we were able to be the sponsor for this month's virtual town hall. And UVA Community Credit Union is a community credit union. We're located over on Blackwell Road. One of the things that that people don't know about us, or is kind of one of those unknown myths, if you will, is how to become a member of the credit union. And you don't have to be a UVA grad, thank goodness. Go Idaho Vandals. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be able to work there. But we, if you live, work, or do business, or worship or are educated in our footprint, which includes Fauquier County, Culpeper, Rappahannock, and goes all the way down through Albemarle County. So it's easy to become a member, and we would love to be able to have you. And yes, we do business. So thank you very much for being here. And I'm excited that we're able to host and to see Diane and Shari. They do a wonderful presentation. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Amelia. We really, really appreciate you and your business support. Thank you. Now, I also wanted to mention that we've got two fabulous speakers today, two very dear friends of mine that I am so excited to hear. They're going to have an amazing amount of information, and you're probably going to have questions. So what I would ask you to do is hold your questions till the end. You can type them in the chat box, and we will answer them at the end, as many as we can fit in. So everybody can locate your chat box at the bottom of your screen, type in a question, and then we will ask those to Shari and Diane at the end. So Diane, wave your hand. Diane here was born in Fauquier County. She is a heart-centered success coach. So besides being my very dear friend, she is a speaker, an author, Awake TV network host, and founder of the Be Love Principle. That combines traditional coaching techniques and deep spiritual truths to help clients enjoy lives with more love, more joy, more peace, and more freedom. Diane holds a BS in mass communications and an MBA, and has earned several healing and coaching certifications. She's a student of the Enneagram, A Course in Miracles, Ancient Wisdom Traditions, and Modern Neuroscience. She is the author of the book, How to Choose Love When You Just Want to Slap Somebody. So if you haven't gotten that, that is available on Amazon. She has, I can give personal testimony to how amazing she is. I have used her as a personal private coach from time to time. I have had her at my counseling center teaching my therapists there how to use the Enneagram. I have been to her group coaching sessions, and she's amazing. And now we add amazing to amazing, and you've got Shari Jaeger Goodwin. She's an innovative business strategist who I have also used personally as a private coach, as a group coach, and I have had her, I've gone to her horse lessons, I've been to Alta Marriott Ranch with your horse workshop, and we've done so many good things together. And she's a horsewoman, an author, a speaker, a leadership coach, and she's got over 25 years of experience, including starting 4 businesses. And she served as the director of program strategy for a global engineering firm. As a former environmental scientist, she led the creation of winning proposals valued at $65 million and directed the development of science and engineering analyses. She owns Jaeger too, specializes in reinvention, helps leaders and teams position for optimum impact and quality of life. She is the author of 2 Amazon bestsellers that are very inspirational, called Reinventing Greatness, Leading Yourself and Others Through Change with Confidence and Trust, and Take the Reins, 7 Secrets to Inspired Leadership. I own all their books because I just love them to death. And so they're going to give you so much information. Remember, put your questions in the chat box. I'm going to be quiet now and let Shari and, oh, wait. Before I be quiet, I'm going to say one more thing. This little basket contains the names of everybody who has pre-registered. So if you wait till the end, we are giving away 2 door prizes, and your chance of winning is right here. If you're not present, you can't win. So woohoo, let's go, girls, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Marianne and everyone. It's just so exciting to be here and with my buddy Diane. And as you guys heard, you know, Marianne we're like this little trifecta, and the love is everywhere. So thank you for inviting us today. We're so excited to be here. And so I have a couple of quick notes. Here's the disclaimer Diane and I talked about before, is to assure you that we're not therapists and we're not counselors. We're not speaking on behalf of the chamber. So chamber, you're off the hook for anything we might say. So just know that, you know, I mean, a lot of this advice is our tools, techniques, advice, wisdom, insights that we've learned in our own practices, our own experiences, and we've shared this with clients. So hopefully something in this whole mix will work for you. We encourage you to explore, be open-minded, jot down some insights as they come along, and just have fun with this. You know, we're going to give you some very specific tools and techniques, and we also want to bring some levity to this because, you know, the world's feeling a little bit heavy lately. So I don't know about you guys, but Friday morning, I'm like ready to just start to have some fun already, even on a rainy day. So I'll share with you that this talk builds on a presentation I gave last month, and I called that Reinventing in Uncertain Times, 5 Trends and Success Strategies that we learned from the pandemic. If you haven't seen that, that's up on my YouTube channel. You just Shari Goodwin on YouTube, you'll find it. And you don't have to look at that to know what's going on here, but that was very, very business centric, business focused. And today what we're going to do is highlight these 5 success strategies and build on those and look at these from a mind, body, and spirit awareness so that you can really help yourself navigate through these times. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And we were talking a little bit before we all got on the line about dating ourselves and time. And I was thinking about, you know, mind, body, spirit awareness. And our promise here is to provide some tools to help you relax and release stress and gain clarity and all of that. And I was thinking about an old Seinfeld, and I don't know about you guys, if you can remember Frank Costanza, he would say, serenity now, serenity now. It's like, you know, right now demanding peace. And then there's the old Calgon, take me away. So Diane, I think what we're going to do is just launch right in, and maybe we will be taken away by Calgon or get some serenity. And I know you wanted to kind of set our intention for today, give a little bit of an overview. So right before we jump into that, let me just tell you real quick, I'll highlight these 5 success strategies so you have some context for that, and then we're going to start going through them. So these 5 success strategies, these are things that I noticed on some research I was doing around business success during the pandemic, business success in general, what I'm seeing with my own clients. And the first thing is to deepen trust and relationships. And the second thing is to use the technology. And certainly we're doing that now. There's all kinds of advances in technology, so that's important. The third thing is agility, be agile. The fourth thing is to be visible, because if you're not visible, no one knows about your great stuff or your product, your service, your offering, your business, whatever it might be where you work. That's important. And then the last one is collaborate to increase impact. So what we're going to do is look at these 5 success strategies from this perspective of mind, body, and spirit awareness. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to my beautiful friend Diane, and she can set us up for this conversation. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Shari, and thank you again to the Chamber, to Marianne, to Amelia, especially tuning in from the beach. That's great. Really, really appreciate that. So let's discuss a basic premise. We're talking about navigating change here, and although 2020 has been all about change, what we want to remind you is that every day you wake up in a different world anyway. The world that you go to sleep in is never the world that you wake up in. There are pandemics going on all over the world all the time. We're just not usually affected by them. There are hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, things that drastically change people's experience and force them into change. What's really unique about this time is that we are all experiencing this together. So while we are really very, we just really believe in navigating the change in the way that we're going to talk to you about today, we just want to remind you, your world is changing all the time. It's just always changing. So this isn't anything unusual. The scope is what's unusual right now. We also want to remind you that in times of stress, overwhelm, when there are these community, country, worldwide events, there's the opportunity for wonderful innovation, for the opportunity to go from the me to the we consciousness. And we're going to be talking about that today. So we're very excited about that. We also want to remind you that we all want the same things, whether you live in Fauquier County, you live in Orange County, California, or across the ocean. We all want to be loved, be loving, be healthy, happy, and successful. And what we're going to talk to you about today is going to help set you up from that, or that rather. Basically, what we're talking about is an orientation of coming from love or fear. And when we use the term love, we're not talking about affection, like I love my friend Shari, and really everybody on this screen. That is an affection kind of love. We are using that as a term that talks about the energy of creation, of intelligence, of expansion. Whatever it is you think makes the tides come in and out, that creates galaxies, that is what we're talking about today. Okay, so that's that part. We also wanted to give you a little context for mind, body, spirit. Now, I don't know about you all, but I think I started hearing about that in probably the 1970s. I didn't pay a lot of attention, quite frankly, but it has certainly become more and more in the culture, normal in the culture in the decades that have followed. What's really interesting is science is now catching up to what the indigenous people have always known, that mind, body, spirit connection is vital to understanding how to live that happy, healthy life. Now, back in the 1970s, there's a doctor named Dr. Bruce Lipton, and actually Shari and I have seen him in person. He's wonderful. He's still lecturing, writing wonderful books. He wrote a book that's still very famous called The Biology of Belief. And in essence, he was the first one to prove that your thoughts affect your physical body. Now, if you think about this, this isn't really that far-fetched. You know what it feels like in your body to be happy, joyful, right? That feels a certain way. You also know what it feels like to be stressed, to be overwhelmed, maybe to have some depression. That feels differently in your body. Those feelings come from chemical signatures, and those chemicals are produced in your brain. Now, again, we're not doctors, we're not medical personnel, but this is something that I've been studying for years. It is so fascinating to me. So this mind-body connection is just absolutely pivotal to understanding how the mind-body-spirit works. Another person who has been really instrumental in helping us understand this is a guy named Dr. Mario Martinez. Now, Dr. Martinez, I have to read this because I want to make sure I've got it right. He's a clinical neuropsychologist, and he developed the theory of biocognitive science. basically, he came out in the 90s saying, hey, I agree with Bruce Lipton. There's a mind-body connection, but the biological expression is also influenced by what he calls the cultural history. Now, in his work, he talked about a lot of that being in spiritual community. Rather, that's going to church, synagogue, in prayer circles, in your personal relationship with whatever you think is greater than you. But it's all that mind, body, spirit. Now, a couple years ago, I believe it was the Fauquier Hospital Foundation brought Dan Butner to do a wonderful presentation at Highland. He's the author of The Blue Zones of Happiness. What he's done is find and isolate these populations, he calls them blue zones, around the planet that live happy, healthy, fully productive lives, way into their 90s and often into their hundreds. And guess what he found? They all incorporate in some way mind, body, spirit practices. So that's why we are so passionate about presenting this to you today. Now, Shari, why don't you lead us into our very first point?
Thank you, Diane. Yeah, such fascinating research that's still emerging in this space on the mind, body, spirit connection. And I'm always looking at that too, even from as a former scientist, and I research for fun just because that's what I do. I'm totally a nerd, really, an introverted nerd. Who would know? But really, there's some great things coming out, and whatever can help us. This is about figuring out what resonates for you. So we will be presenting a lot of different tools and techniques and ideas and references and things. And some of those you're going to be like, not at all. And then others you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that totally resonates. So kind of pick and choose. This is kind of a menu suite of options. And the first thing we're going to talk about here is building trust, really deepening trust and relationships. Because as Diane said, this is all coming from the heart. And it's really important, especially now, to have access to our heart. What's happened with the pandemic and the spark of all of these fears is that we are being bombarded every single day with external stimuli from the news, from people, from even what we're seeing, go to the grocery store, everyone's in masks, that are constant low-level fear spikes, sometimes even high level, really, really scary stuff. And if you're surrounded by that all the time, you start to feel very unsafe. And when you start to feel very unsafe, you get down, this goes back to the neuroscience, you get down into this fight, flight, freeze type of response. And honestly, you don't have as much access to the cognitive center parts of your brain, the executive functioning, because all of that is refocused to survival. And then what happens is it starts to limit the options that you see that are available to you, and you just have this like tunnel vision, and you just get through each day, and it becomes kind of a triage approach to life. And what we're encouraging today is to be able to release some of that fear, to become a safe place for yourself. And one of the best ways that I have seen this happen, for many of you who know me, you know that I work with horses. And what the horses are showing me about trust and safety all the time are three things. And this goes to a community-based approach to healing, really. And that's what we're looking at. There's a personal piece and then there's a community piece, but it starts with each one of us as individuals and being really fully accountable for our own feelings, our own experience. So the horses have showed me that there's three things that are really important, and it's all around awareness. Awareness of self, as Diane was saying, how am I feeling? What am I feeling here? And recognizing these feelings. So awareness of self first, and then awareness of other. Like right now, awareness of other, who's in your environment, in your space right now. We're all in each other's space right now. So what's happening there? Well, hopefully what's happening and I'm feeling is a willingness to engage, a willingness to be present for this conversation, kind of a neutral vibe of curiosity and interest and being very present, and that's very cool. And then there's awareness of the broader environment. So where you are, does it feel safe? Is it good? And then you can extend environment out. So it happens with the horses is they're doing this all the time in microseconds. I mean, that's not even fast enough. Lightning speed, light speed. They're making these assessments really, really, really fast. Awareness of self, awareness of other, awareness of environment, and it's shifting. And they're either feeling safe or they're not feeling safe. There's either a threat or they're feeling okay. And we have the same thing going on right now. We're either exposed to a perceived threat or we're okay, or we're kind of okay, or we're not okay. So what we want to do is start really looking at ourselves first. Are you a safe place for yourself? Or can you trust yourself in this space? And then how can you extend that out to other? And this is all around the heart, being able to really open the heart and start to relax. So we're going to talk more about that. But the first thing I want to do with you guys, do we want to do an exercise first, or Diane, do you want to share some things on this? Because I'm wondering about the flow here. I'm thinking that might be good to have you weigh in a little bit, and then we do the exercise.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, good.
So what I wanted to also add to this is, as much as we want to develop trust, we also want to be recognizing, trusting ourselves. There's another scientist named Dr. Robert Allen, and he actually studied high-level executives, and he wanted to understand biologically what happened in their decision-making process. And he discovered that there are the same types of thinking cells, and for any medical personnel here, sorry, I don't know the exact thing, but it's basically a thinking cell in your head, in your heart, and in your gut. And you'll hear this when people talk. I knew in my heart this was the right decision. My gut said this is what I should do. So he studied this. And as technology enabled researchers to do this, they actually now can measure the electrical impulses that come right from all parts of your body. Guess what is the highest in a normal, healthy person? It is this energy of the heart. So what I want you to remember is that everything you need to know is already wired inside you. Now, what you may need to know is, in this situation, I need a coach, I need an accountant, I need whatever, but you have a GPS inside you. And for people who find this hard to believe, I know every one of y'all have one of this. You talk into this thing and expect it to tell you where to go, and you just go there. I'm telling you that you don't need, that you can actually use this. And we're going to give you some exercise a little later that will help you do that. But one of these principles about deepening into trust is deepening into the relationship with yourself and your own inner wisdom.
Yeah, thanks, Diane. Yeah, such great stuff. And I mean, trust is huge, because without trust, without self-trust, it becomes hard to trust others. I actually just learned this last week. I think I was on a webinar researching something, and I learned about the vagal nerve, and apparently the vagus nerve, there's different branches. And when we are under stress, we don't have as much access really to the oxygen for our brain, and we really go into this fight, flight, freeze, as I mentioned before. And they have this thing called the polyvagal system. So there's actually some new research coming out on freeze is actually a different branch from the fight and flight. So it's kind of coming from two different mechanisms. We don't need to go into that. And I was a biology master, so I'm kind of interested in that. But that, for purposes of today, this is all interconnected. So when we have the mind, body, spirit awareness, we're looking at not just spirituality in the sense of this kind of higher being, higher calling or whatever, but also what's happening right here with us. And so we want to be stimulating this vagus nerve through breath, through trust, through these heart-centered types of approaches that we're going to talk about here. We want to lay some foundation work first. And what that does is it helps you relax, and then you can trust more, take more chances, take different action, kind of even question your own self. As Diane said, we have the answers inside. And so you can even use the Socratic method on yourself. You can kind of go through some deep inquiry. I do it all the time. I'm constantly self-coaching myself because I get all cattywampus off to the side and I'm like, okay, you know, woo, woo, woo. And I go through my own line of inquiry and I'm like, oh, I think I'm okay. And then I breathe and I'm good. And one of the other things that I love to do is research models from other folks. So I'm going to share one with you that's really great right now. When I was writing Reinventing Greatness, I mean, I've been researching trust for probably 10 years now. And there's so much complexity to it, but I like to distill things down to their simplest parts. So I was looking for models that did that. And I found this one from Rachel Connerly. She's with Collaborative Leaders down in North Carolina. I found a reference somewhere for that. And I called her up and I talked to her about it, actually. I said, hey, I love this. I want to be able to reference this in my book. Do I have this right? Whatever. So we had a nice conversation about it. And this is a great model that you can use. So it consists of 3 components. She says trust is made of 3 components. And again, the spirit of distilling things down for simplicity. I mean, you could parse this any way you want. Let's just go with this. These 3. So the first one is competence. So can you do the job? Let's talk about it in a work context. Can you do the job? Can he do the job? Can she do the job? And you can do a self-assessment on trust here for yourself. You can look, can I do the job? Do I have the skills and training to be able to do this job? Whatever it might be. And then you rank yourself 1 to 5. 1 meaning I don't know what I'm doing, and 5 like I rock. So you do that. And so competence is number 1. And then predictability / reliability. We'll go with reliability as number 2. Do you do what you say you're going to do? Or does he do what he says he's going to do? Does he show up on time? Does he complete the project? Do you complete the project? You know, how deadline oriented are you? Are you reliable? So are you exhibiting the same kind of behavior under different conditions? People know what to expect from you. That's what predictability is. So you rate that 1 to 5. And then the last one, this is actually kind of my favorite, is benevolence. You don't hear about benevolence that much in trust, but benevolence means, do they have my best interests in mind? And you think about that. You know, if you're working for another company and or a company and you're assessing trust, and say it's your supervisor, the competence, they have the competence to do the job, maybe a 3, could be a better leader, whatever. Are they predictable? Oh yeah, you know, they're like clockwork, kind of annoying, always there. 5. Benevolence. Do they have my best interests in mind? Do I feel that they have my best interests in mind? I have to think about that. Maybe it's a 1. I don't know. I don't know that I'm seeing a lot of demonstration on that. And now you can take that same trust model and apply it to yourself. Do I have the skills and the competence to do this job? You know, where do I, and if not, if I'm a 1, where do I need more training? Where do I need more help? You know, whatever it is, it's not to beat yourself up because you're not good at it or whatever. It's an opportunity for growth and to be really objective and start to assess where you can get some support or where one of your staff people or teammates can get support. And the predictability, all right, well, maybe I'm not that reliable. Maybe I don't always do what I say I'm gonna do. Maybe I could be a little better about that. And then maybe I should be a little thinking a little bit about other people more and show that. So thinking about how you can share that as a leader. We're all leaders. We're all leaders, even if you're the leader of yourself. You know, we're all leaders. So how can I have a little bit more compassion and empathy for my own way going through the world here and have my own best interest, because it all starts with self. So is that making sense? Yeah, actually I can't see all the little names there.
Yes, it is, dear friend. It is
Okay,
making sense.
Yeah, so that's a nice little trust model. So you might want to jot that down: competence, predictability, and benevolence. Rate it 1 to 5, rate yourself, rate others. And it may give you some really good insights on where there's a gap and where you can start to help support yourself and others in gaining more trust.
Love that.
So let's move on, Diane. Well, the other piece of this too, you know, with trust in general during the pandemic, we always want to be a value add. Always want to be a value add. So if you're struggling in your business, if you're struggling at work, if you've been laid off, whatever it may be, think about your best strengths, think about your own values, and think about where you can be of service to other. And that's really what's driving us now is, and Diane mentioned earlier, this from me to we, you know, how can I share? How can I help? What can I do now? Even temporarily, just get in there and it'll help others. It'll make you feel better. It'll give you some purpose and focus. And that's something, I even heard Dr. Fauci talking on an interview last night about, someone asked him, you know, how do you stay calm? Because you're getting information from all different sides. No matter what you think about Dr. Fauci, I mean, the guy's pretty steady, right? Pretty steady. So he said what he does, he has a great support group, and then he has extreme focus. He's able to compartmentalize and stay. He has trained his brain to be whoop, right here. Laser focus is what he called it. And that's a self-leadership technique. You know, that's a really beautiful thing to be able to do, is just take care of all that noise. Nope, I'm going to focus right here, right now. So, so yeah, with that, let's talk a little bit about using the technology. We'll jump into the success strategy number 2. And Diane, I know you have been masterful at navigating your way. You really have been so incredibly impressive. I'm like, look at her, there she goes. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on using the technology.
Okay, first of all, there is a perfect example of people not knowing what you don't know. If you just show up on a screen somewhere. I think, like, I'm not a technical wizard, but like everybody else, we have sometimes challenged, but we also have the opportunity to connect to people all over the world with our computers, with our smart devices. And sometimes, I know, speaking from my own experience, the technology is way further along than my understanding is. What I've noticed from a mind, body, spirit perspective is when I'm presented with a new technology, as I was several months ago, actually, I had a friend in England who wanted to interview me, which is always appreciated, right? And she wanted me to use this new technology called StreamYard, which I didn't know what that was. Here's what can happen. I could have gone, oh my gosh, I don't know what that is. I'm going to screw this up. I don't want to look like an idiot. Everything's going to go wrong. Just feel into that for a minute. Seriously, shut your eyes and just for a minute in your head, say, I don't know how to do this. This is beyond me. I'm never going to get this right. How does that feel? If you're like most people, it is constrictive. You can open your eyes now, by the way. You can actually feel your shoulders come in. What that does is restrict your breathing. When your breathing's restricted, it limits the oxygen to your brain. When you're trying to learn something new, that's not when you want to limit the oxygen to your brain, FYI, right? So a more expansive way to think, and I won't tell you I do this 100% of the time, but I do it probably 95% of the time, is I tell myself when I'm presented with new technology, other people have figured this out, I can figure it out. There's always someone available to help me. And my all-time favorite, I can find this on YouTube somewhere. Somebody has put a YouTube up, but I go from the, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that ever happened, which shuts me down and limits my ability to serve myself, my family, my community, everybody. Or I take that calm, more expansive approach. Other people have figured this out. I can figure it out. So in this particular situation, I had already talked to Shari about us doing a free program. We did lots of those when the pandemic first started, March, April, May. It was our way of serving, right? So I call her up and say, hey, I got this new thing I want to try. I don't know how to do it. I think we push a button and we go live on a bunch of places. Do you want to do it? And like a good friend, she went, yeah, sure, we'll do it. So that's what we did. I send her some little funny button. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. We set up a test run on a Friday afternoon when we figured everybody would be out doing something else, by the way. And literally, we're just like, are we live? I don't know. Let me check. And we just did it. And I thought actually that we were live, everything worked. So I thought we would just delete it. Well, Shari thought it was so funny. She's like, no, let's share this. Let's let people see that technology doesn't have to be scary. My point is your thoughts are going to dictate the way you welcome technology into your life, right? And get help when you need it. There's so many people and resources that are available to help you, but listen to your body. Listen to your body. And that's going to give you an idea of how you can embrace the technology that's appropriate for you. And Shari, I know you've got some great examples of people who've done that.
Thanks. Yeah, and if you haven't seen that, oh my gosh. I mean, seriously, I say, so talk about trust. Hey, what am I saying yes to? I'm not like a technology person. Do I need my face all over the world, you know, on live? Oh, well, just because. Well, sure, why not? I trust Diane. So there we are, fumbling our way through. It's really quite hysterical. There's maybe 5 minutes of it or whatever, but it was really a real-time, honest attempt for both of us to say, okay, we need to embrace this technology. Let's play with it. Right? Let's play with it. Let's not have ego out here as, oh, we need to look and be a certain way. Good thing, because it really did come off that way. But we're definitely authentic. And that is the one thing that drives us both is be true to yourself. And if you're learning in the process, you know, give yourself some grace and let others kind of see that too. It's okay. It's okay. You know, we'll work it all out. So that was pretty cool. So good examples of technology and trust. And then the other thing, so for me, getting back to this languaging, the words are so important, how we self-talk. The words have so much power, so much energy. And last year, I think it was last year, the year before, I said to myself, I'm making peace with technology in my business. I'm going to make peace with, because I've had a really hard time with technology. I'm a late adopter. It took me forever to get a cell phone, first of all. Then it took me I mean, this is like embarrassing, but I'm going to share it anyway, spirit of full transparency. Then I had the cell phone. I carried it around, but I never turned it on. And I never gave anybody the number except the vet, because I had to have the vet on, you know, but that was it. So then I finally got the iPhone. I can't use the iPhone. I didn't even know how to text. I'm like, oh. But anyway, gradually I started to see the value and the utility, and now it's just an essential part of my business. But last year, you know, then there's always more technology, and it's completely overwhelming. And then you have to go over, see, it's completely overwhelming. Hear that? I caught myself. Doesn't have to be completely overwhelming. It can be, these advances are very helpful most of the time. So this year I said technology is my friend. And I thought, all right, let's see how friendly we are. And had to be, thank goodness I did that, because now I have online programs, virtual kinds of things with all kinds of technology I never had last year, have it now. And the mantra of technology is my friend, technology is an asset, has been really, it's a tool, and it's an essential tool for my business, has been very helpful. It's been a little bit of a shift for me. Not a little shift, kind of big shift. So that's important. And then there's these really cool things that, I don't know if you guys have seen this guy. Who's this guy's name? Rob Kenny on YouTube. He's got this YouTube channel called Dad, How Do I? Teaching all these life skills to kids. And he grew up, I think his dad left early in his life, so he never got some of the basic training. Anyway, he has millions and millions and millions of subscribers to his YouTube channel now. That's not his main job, but it probably will be at some point. I'm sure he's got sponsors and all kinds of folks because he's amazing. You can look that up. That is a brilliant use of technology. He started that not to run a business. He's a salesman, works somewhere. And he started that out of the love to help, to be of service. And it's just exploded into this awesome internet sensation on YouTube. So this is Rob Kenny, How Do I? Then there's these other folks. I mean, certainly all these folks who have made the pivot. I talked a lot about this in that talk I mentioned a month ago, so you can check those out. But one comes to mind for sure. There's a lot of examples, but one is this framing company, art picture framing company in DC called Framebridge. And they were doing really, really well, custom framing, all kinds of really cool stuff until the pandemic. In fact, they were expanding locations until the pandemic hit, closed everything. Then they realized, hold on, we have these same types of tools that they're using to make masks. And they started making masks, and they started doing, just sending them out just to be able to keep their staff employed. So again, this is coming from the heart. You know, they could have closed the doors and just, you know, applied for loans and different kinds of things, but they wanted to have the staff be able to stay employed, not lay anybody off, and add value. So they started making all these masks using the same tools that they use for their framing. And then they got a contract from the state of Kentucky to mass produce a whole bunch of masks, and they're actually making money doing this. So that's a temporary interim fix, but they were able to make this pivot from a place of love and from a place of trust and from a place of willingness to serve others, and look what's happened for them. So, you know, Godspeed. That was a beautiful thing, and we have lots of examples of that. But that's one way to use the technology. So let's go ahead and jump into the third success strategy, and this is about agility. We need to be agile, and certainly you see a little bit of those examples there. So Diane, why don't you give us some thoughts on be agile?
You know, when Shari and I were talking about this, we both really believe in taking thoughtful action. Now, for me, I have to say sometimes that thoughtful action in the past might take a year or two. Those days are over. Those days are over. She just gave you examples of people who were able to pivot, to be agile in the moment, using trust, using the technology. What we wanted to offer you today is the highest way you can be agile is from a calm place. Now, I don't know how many other people have had this experience, but in the summers, years and years ago, when I was a little girl with my family, my dad came from Nebraska, and we would travel cross country. And I remember seeing jackrabbits out west. And if you know anything about jackrabbits, they are always going from here to there. Whenever they hear a tiny little sound, right, they go. And it's kind of fun to watch, especially when you're a kid, but that's not the way you want to run your life or your business. It's just not. You want to make thoughtful, loving, productive decisions that lead you to that place that we already discussed everybody wants to go. Where am I going to be happy, healthy, loved, and loving? So, Shari, do you want me to do that exercise now, or do you want to make any?
No, go ahead. Do the exercise. I think the exercise is perfect right now.
We've shared this a couple times. It's one of my favorite exercises. It's one I teach all of my clients. It's called Heart-Brain Coherence. And it was pioneered by the Heart Math Institute, which is a fantastic research. They're an organization that absolutely shows this mind-body-spirit connection. And there's a very simple technique that they talk about. I do it all the time, especially before I'm going to do a presentation, before I have to make a big decision, especially if I'm a little confused by my options, by the way. Very simple, and I'd invite you to do it with me right now. You can just put one hand on your heart. That just helps mentally, wherever you touch, right, your attention is there. So you put your hand on your heart, and I'd invite you to go ahead and shut your eyes. And for a moment, what I'd like you to do is imagine that you are breathing in through the back of your heart and out through the front, and in through the back and out through the front. You're breathing in through the back and out through the front. Now, with your eyes shut and with this focus on your heart, I want you to bring to mind a moment in time when you remember being absolutely overcome with gratitude. Just remember what that feels like for your heart to open like a flower. Maybe it was the birth of a child. Maybe it's getting that new job. Maybe it's a sudden awareness. Go back to that time, any time in your life. Feel that gratitude. This is something you want to feel in your body. Just replay that. Feel it again. Feel those ripples of gratitude just going all through your body. Now go ahead and open your eyes, and you can take your hand down. So, well, Heart Math Institute tells you to do that for 3 minutes. That's not much, 3 minutes. What they have found is often, and I bet everybody's had this experience, you'll know in your heart you need to do something, but you got your head over here going, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this, right? So it's like having the two executives of your company not talking to each other. What this simple technique does is bring your heart, oh, there goes my thing there. It brings your heart and your brain into coherence. And what this allows you to do is to clearly, more clearly, get direction from that real seat of power, and then use your intellect to execute what you've heard. So it's everybody's on the same page. It's funny to think you've got one body part over here and one body part over here, but that's the way it works. This is a beautiful way that's been documented scientifically, many, many ways. There are studies that show when you are out of heart-brain coherence, how detrimental that is for your physical health. We certainly know how detrimental it is for your mental health. Doing this, I love to do it 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. As little as 3 minutes will change you biochemically. If you notice how you felt when you were feeling that gratitude, there is a chemical change that occurs in your body that spreads throughout. That is beneficial for you having more clarity, being more relaxed, and making the kinds of decisions that are going to create the life that you really want.
Oh my gosh, so delicious, Diane. I'm like so groovy now. Look, oh, I can just kind of go
You always were groovy.
space out now. I mean, don't you guys feel great? It's like a whole, it really is a transformation. What a gift. Thank you, Diane. And you can give that gift to yourself anytime you want. You can do it in the car. You can do it before a meeting. You don't even need to take 3 minutes. You can do 1 minute. You know, so the nice thing about that is, as she mentioned, there's the dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These are the 3 feel-good chemicals, major ones, that start to course through your body, and they relax you, and they relax that vagus nerve, and you breathe better, you get more creative, you can think better, you can reach out and connect. There is some neuroscience to show that we can't be in a protection mode, a defensive mode, and connect. All right, so you can't have both at the same time. We switch back and forth, and what we want to do is be more in this open and connecting mode, especially now. It gives us access to a lot of really, really wonderful possibilities, new possibilities. So the other thing about this agility, and I love what you're saying, Diane, is giving yourself permission to take imperfect action. Not perfect action, all right? So for all of you perfectionists out there, whew, you don't have to be perfect. You should never have to be perfect anyway. But this is fast, imperfect action. So just try things, get it out there, feel it in your heart. What'll happen is you'll feel it in your heart and you'll be like, oh, this is so great. And then your brain's gonna kill it. Oh, nobody's gonna do that. Nobody's gonna want that. Nobody's gonna follow me do this. Oh, no, that's stupid. Right? So you get that heart talk, that self-talk that happens. The heart comes up with this beautiful thing, the gut, the body, the heart coherence, the whole thing's good, and you get it, and then you're like, it goes into doubt. It's a fear trigger. So you want to just notice that. So what if, instead of killing it, what if you just say, let me give it a shot. Let's play with this. Let's put it out there. Why not? You can always adjust. So this is the thing, especially now, is to be able to use that wisdom that you're getting from these heart coherence exercises and take the step. Whatever that next piece of action is, take the step, get the immediate feedback, make an adjustment. Right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to be agile, we're going to move, and you navigate your way according to your aligned self. I call it alignment. Heart, brain, coherence, head, heart, gut. Talk about that in both of my books. I mean, it's paramount for every single thing that I do. We want to be in alignment, and what alignment means for me is empowerment. You are in control of your own power. You're not bleeding power and letting other people steal your power, steal your effectiveness through distraction, right? So we need to be this goes back to this point about focus. We need to be intentional and focused about where we're going, what we're doing, and what's driving. Is fear driving or is a heart driving? And check it so you can course correct along the way. So yeah, anything else on the agility before we jump into the next? We're good? All right, so I'm just checking the time too. Perfect.
Yeah, me too. I got the clock.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this stuff all day long. We want to make sure we have the questions. So the next one is to be visible, is to make sure that you're able to share yourself to the best of your ability. So what are your thoughts on that, Diane?
Well, my first thought is that visibility can be different, or it is different actually, for each person and in each different situation. First of all, I want to make sure we're visible to ourselves. Sometimes we are so overwhelmed with doing for this person or that person, we are not visible or aware of our own needs, and we're not taking care of who we need to. So you want to be visible to yourself. You want to check in, and you can use that heart, mind coherence technique or meditation, whatever you use, to see where am I to be visible now. And what I would encourage you to do is be as authentic as you can be. That's exactly what Shari and I we were on that StreamYard thing, right? We were there, warts and all. I don't know, are we on? And we're looking and we don't know what's happening. We were not afraid, obviously, to look silly, because we knew it was in service to something greater than us. We wanted to present in a new way that could reach new people. And this was a way to do that. So we were willing to be visible because our dedication to service was pulling us that way. So what I want you to do is think of, how can I be authentic in this moment? And authenticity, to my mind, and Shari, I'm anxious to hear what you think, is always in the present moment. Your power is in the present moment. If you are a prisoner of the past or paralyzed by the future, I can tell you, you're not going to be effective, focused, or present right here. Now, you need to be aware of what's happened and aware of where you want to go and what's going on. Of course you do. But to be visible to yourself and the people you're here to serve is to authentically be in the present. Now, from this visibility place, one of the questions that I ask is, what is this time calling me to do now? And I have to say, it wasn't long after I had just recently asked that question that I was invited to do this talk. So this is where I'm being invited to be visible now, in service to all of you, I hope. So to me, that's some of the things I'm thinking about visibility. What about you, Shari?
Oh, so good. Yeah, I mean, being visible is, the really interesting thing about this is it has nothing to do about ego. It has nothing to do with ego. It really is in the spirit of something bigger than yourself. So honestly, I'm kind of a shy person, and most people wouldn't really know that, because I get out in public pretty regularly, and I get on video now pretty regularly, imperfect or whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't care, actually, because I don't care most of the time. Sometimes I do watch the video, I'm like, I should have, whatever. But you know what? The purpose is much bigger than this. This is a tool. This is a tool. That's how I see myself. It's a tool. I need to keep it fresh. I need to keep it sharp as best I can. Some days I totally botch it. Yesterday I had a bad day and was botching with all kinds of stuff. This emotional stuff can take over. And then it's like, oh, no, got to clean myself up here. I'm all right. It's all right. Sharpen the tool a little bit and be able to use it in the spirit of service. So where is this guidance putting me? Where do I need to show up? And sometimes like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because this isn't about you. That's what I tell myself. It's not about you. It's for the people you best serve. It's for the people who want this, who need this, who whatever it is, It's for the horses. It's for, sometimes I'll be out there working with my little ex-race horse, Lemon Squeezy, and he can be a little hot tamale sometimes. And boy, I have to really check who I am before I even walk out the door to go work with him, because they read that energy and they can tell if you're authentic. They can tell if you're in a place of fear. They can tell if you've got ego in a second, and they're going to reflect that right back to you, not in the most positive way. So I need to be sure to clean this up. So when I'm visible to him, I want to be visible to him for a higher purpose, and that's for our partnership. I don't even show him. I don't care. I could care less, but I work with him as if I'm showing him. I work with him at my highest. I try to. I aspire to do that, because it's about a higher purpose. There's a higher calling. There's a partnership there. And the same is true in my business. I keep showing up. I just keep showing up, because I know there's folks out there who need some help, and I know that it's not even about, in my case, these folks are already really amazing folks, and it's about sharpening that last little piece where they can be more visible, so that they can do their amazing work, so that then I can hire them and be a client of theirs, which happens all the time, back and forth. It's not like you know best and you're the expert. It's about, let's raise everybody up. Everyone can raise up to be as visible in their best as possible, so that we can all see these opportunities for connection, for mutual sharing, for client-customer relationships. There's a reciprocity there, and it all raises everyone up. So those are just a few thoughts on visibility there. So we always want to be looking at this from a place of your best strengths. So what are your best strengths? Think about what those are for you and be able to come from this heart-centered place of service and be able to offer your best strengths from this place of service. You'll really have a great impact there. So this actually is a great segue into this final point, number 5, success strategy is collaborate to increase impact. And that's what we're all doing even right here today. So Diane, share some thoughts with us on what you think about this collaboration piece.
Well, I know we've got another piece after this, so I think that we've addressed this, but I want to just kind of, as Shari says, we're going to sharpen this point just a little bit. In context of 2020, when everything started to clamp down, we're all at home, and I went inside and said, who can I partner with to be of greater service? Shari was one of the ones, well, she was actually the very first one that came to mind, right? It was not about making money. It was how can we serve? How can we share what we have? How can we support each other? Because we're going through the pandemic too, right? We've got days that we're afraid and wondering and what's going on, of course. And I think I'm speaking for you, my friend. We have benefited from others sharing their expertise, and that really motivates us to do this. So it was what I think we're all being called to do from a collaborative standpoint is go from a mindset of who do I partner with to make money? And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, at all. But there's a shift in mindset from this is all about the money, who can help me make money, to who do I partner with to serve the greater good? And the money comes from there as well, but it's a very different orientation. It is service. This is where that ultimate love comes in. This is going from the me to the we. And that's what I think this time is inviting us to do. What do you think?
Beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. And when you're working, you're a heart-centered success coach. And when you're working from that place of heart-centeredness, it feels different. It feels different. And I'll tell you what, I just kicked off Wednesday night, kicked off a new group coaching, all virtual program called the Reinvention Jumpstart for folks who wanted to get in a group and just get going for the next 3 months. And this is the first time I've run this. And do you know that in that group are people that I met through other people that I had gone to following my passion? Basically, I went to some event because I was really interested, passionate about it, whatever, met this person, who then met that person. Everyone in that group is that. And so there's this incredible synergy and power. I never knew at the time that I would be putting together a group like this and that they would all be together, and they paid me, this paid group. So this is the power of this thing. Is as Diane says, the money isn't the primary motivator. It's go with that authentic place, that your I call it your highest truth or your soul's truth, and that's a whole nother conversation. We can get into some other things later. But when you have that, follow it. Follow it. Don't poo-poo it, because don't dismiss it. And don't say, oh, I need to focus on my money-making things. Well, that could be a money-making thing. So we want to make sure that you go with the heart, explore it, and there's a huge value beyond the monetary value. I mean, certainly we all need to pay the bills. I just got smacked with a big vet bill yesterday. So, anybody who wants coaching, no, I'm totally kidding. But honestly, this is what we need to do. So if you come from the spirit of service to other, amazing, profound impact can happen that's bigger than you ever really expected. So let's talk a little bit here about where we start, Diane, to kind of wrap up this conversation and then open it for Q&A and discussion. So where do we start, Diane?
So to my mind, and what Shari and I had discussed, cultivating mind, body, spirit practices helps prepare you to more easily do all these things that we talked about, right? If you cultivate a daily practice, and for us, meditation is absolutely the cornerstone of that. And I know our dear friend Marianne, she had these beautiful meditation centers or sessions rather, for years and years in her center. This is something that is scientifically proven to help increase your immune system, by the way. Who doesn't need that right now? Your clarity, helps you just feel healthier, happier in all ways. For me, every morning I start with a meditation that incorporates my Be Love principles. That's part of my practice, but that is absolutely integral to me being able to react with love. That's just the way that I do it. But that is something that you can Google. There's research all over the internet on how effective that is. One way to do that is beautiful that Shari does every day is to incorporate meditation in nature. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so some of you have probably seen some of the pictures on Facebook of me sitting. There's Shari at the wetland. There's Shari with the cat at the wetland. There's Shari's shoes at the wetland. Oh, you're doing at the wetland. Enough with the wetland. But the wetland for me, it's a perfect thing because it integrates all of my top values. I studied wetland ecology in my master's program in biology, so I love it from the science perspective. It has transformative properties. There's biological productivity and diversity there. So it really, for me, it represents, and there's this transition zone from upland to lowland to water. So there's this, it's perfect. It's kind of like a little mini microcosm of everything I love and where I work best, which is always on this edge, this kind of edge of transformation. Through the transformation, there's chaos, there's uncertainty, there's this complexity piece of who's doing what and where and positioning and all that. And the wetland seems to be able to integrate all of this in the most beautiful way. And it's ever changing. It's a dynamic environment. So when I sit down there in nature, and sometimes our little feral cats who are not so feral anymore, they come down and join me. It is a grounding. There is a deep, deep, deep connection to something way, way, way bigger than me. And I'm putting my hands, you can see them there. I put my hands down into the grass. Sometimes I take my shoes off and have my little feet in the grass. And sometimes that's gross because there's little bugs and things. But for the most part, it's very restorative, because you're connecting to something outside of this little system. We're not our own little private system, right? We're interrelated, and as quantum physics is showing more and more, we're all entangled with each other. And the more that we get that, and the more that we are stewards of our own well-being, the better we can share our specific and unique, I call it greatness, with others. So that's one of the things that helps me every single day. And whether I meditate or not, I sometimes just sit there and I listen. I'll practice even different senses. What am I smelling? This is about getting present, right? What am I smelling? What am I hearing? What am I whatever? And just pet the cat or just put the hands in the grass. It's a very cathartic, grounding, present technique, getting present.
Which is one of the reasons people love this time of year to go walk the beach, right? That is actually very grounding. And I wanted to also point out, look behind Shari, you see that beautiful tree that she has on, right? And can you see mine right there? If there is a situation you or a loved one cannot get out in nature, play nature sounds. That changes your brain waves. You see, I've got fresh flowers on my shelf there. I've got plants all over the place. If you don't have your own private wetland, you can go to one of the beautiful parks that we have here, or simply bring an element of nature inside.
Yeah, so beautiful, Diane. And there's an exercise that I do for myself sometimes, I've done with others, that helps me connect to something outside of myself. And we can do it right now.
Let's
briefly.
do that.
Okay, before we jump into the discussion. So again, if you'd like, you can just kind of sit in your chair and close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. You exhale and notice where you are. Notice your butt in the chair, kind of feel that. And then bring yourself out of yourself and go hover over yourself on the pretend, just imagine in your mind that you are on your ceiling and you're looking down at yourself, and there's yourself sitting there in the chair with your little computer, and you're kind of just looking down at yourself. And now let's pretend that we can go through the ceiling up to the top of the roof, and now you're outside on the top of the building and you're just looking out all around. What do you see? The trees, maybe some other buildings. You can kind of see some cars or wherever you are. And then pull yourself, take another deep breath, and just imagine, pull yourself up all the way up into the clouds. And now have a look at where you are. See all the little cars and the people, maybe little houses, some streams. And then take another nice deep breath. Bring yourself all the way through the atmosphere and bring yourself all the way up to the moon. See if you can get up there, all the way to the moon. And then you just look back and you see this little planet. It's blue and white and swirly and surrounded by blackness. And you just kind of sit there. You just look. Just feel. When you're ready, take another nice deep breath. And bring yourself back down. You can zoom down, you can float down, just have fun with it. Take yourself all the way back down. Boom, land right in your little chair here and ping, open your eyes. Yeah, a little journey. So this is about getting a higher perspective and kind of looking at things from, wow, you know, there's so much beyond just me. There's a lot out there. And just notice what might be feeling for you. You can play with that. You can do anything you want with that. You can take yourself on a flight. I've flown all over the country in my mind, flown up with the birds. You can be as imaginative as you want because that settles you and it uses a whole different part of your brain. And it gives you a really beautiful perspective on where you really are and all the beautiful things that we have in our life right now. Like Diane and you guys and Marianne and the Chamber and everybody who's been part of this today. And we're so, so grateful for all of you sharing your time with us. Any thoughts on that, Diane?
Or just how beautiful a process that is, because when we are in these times of stress and overwhelm, our world gets very small. And that's a beautiful technique to just get a higher perspective. That is a beautiful way to remind us of the we. And it's my feeling that that is what will help us not only survive, but thrive in this year. And
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for that and for all of your wonderful insights. It's always great. It's just always so much fun to present with you.
Oh,
So,
right back at you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm ready for questions.
Yeah, let's hear from the people. What are you guys feeling? What's going on for you? We'd love to hear questions, comments, insights. If we can open the line, where's our little team of supporters? I don't know how to open the line. I think there's a chat right here,
We
though.
got you right here.
Oh, perfect. Thanks,
You
Ginger.
got us.
So what kind of-
everybody's
yeah,
been muted and everybody's camera was turned off. So if you know how to turn your camera on, you can go ahead and do that. And if not, I'll be sending you requests right now.
And I see we have some chats in there, Ginger.
Yes, ma'am. Marianne has them. She will provide them to you as well.
Perfect.
So everybody should be coming back on. And once again, if you're not sure how to turn your camera back on, you're getting a request from me as we speak.
Just remember, I can do this. I can do this.
Okay, they set us free, so here we are. Carol and Ginger, they set us free. So actually, we do have several questions for you. So I'm in my mind, I feel like I've gone from Ricochet Rabbit, bing, 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 because I didn't know Ricochet Rabbit was a jackrabbit. So I learned something today beyond what I expected. And then I move into feeling groovy, you know, so in my brain, I'm just going, slow down, you move too fast. So sometimes I sing that to myself, even as I'm taking my walks. So thank you for the emotional roller coaster and teaching us how to bring ourselves back to a really safe place. And I wanted to share one question we got was, what are a couple of effective strategies we can use to focus during these distracting times, besides the normal ones that we, you know, turn off the news for Pete's sake. We know that. Stop scrolling on social media. We know that. But what, do you have a couple other strategies that, that you can share with people that can really increase our focus?
Yeah,
Shari,
I can.
you wanna
Yeah, I
start?
can jump in there. Yeah, sure. So the big thing first, notice. Notice that you're getting distracted, all right? So that's a win right there. We're looking for small wins here, you know? So just notice that you're getting distracted, and then you press pause, right? And then you can ask yourself a question. Is this where I want to choose to spend my time right now? Right? This is a leadership process. This is a leadership process for you. And everything starts with awareness. So if you're aware that you're doing it, that's awesome. So give yourself props on that. And then take that pause, because we need that pattern interrupt, right? Notice, take the pause, ask yourself that question. And then it's up to you. You can say, yes, I want to indulge in this chaotic, stressful space for a little longer because I just need to have a pity party. And if you need to have the pity party and you need to feel it, I'm not judging your pity party. I have them all the time. That's what I call them for me. I give myself permission. I said, all right, you know what? Now that I have this great technology, because I love technology now, right? I'll just set my clock and I'll say, 3 minutes, I'm going to sit here and I am going to let myself suffer and be distracted for 3 minutes. And I'm going to feel as much pain as I possibly can. And then that thing goes off, I'm going to redirect. And I'm going to redirect into something else. So I have in the back of my mind something cool that I want to work on or some next thing. So what you're doing is 2 things. You're giving yourself permission to feel the way that you feel. And that's really critically important. What you resist persists. So if you don't let yourself feel that, that thing's going to come back and scream at you so loud to be acknowledged, just like a little kid, right? So you got to do something with it. Then give it a little job. It's like, okay, you get 3 minutes. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to be really suffery. And I'll tell you what, you're going to want to come out of that. You're not going to want to sit in there. In fact, sometimes I'll play a game with myself and I'll say, how much worse can I feel? Let's just see. How much worse? What else can I think that's really ugly and terrible? Let me just get in there and get all the way down in there, because we're so afraid of feeling afraid and feeling scared that sometimes we gloss it over and then we don't go to that ugly place. And one of my clients actually, she told me, I asked her, we were doing some kind of thing, and she said, I said, why do you even work with me? She's been with me a long, long time. And one of the things she said was, because you're not afraid to go to the ugly place. You're not afraid to go to the ugly place. And I thought, huh, how interesting. I've never called it the ugly place. That was her term. But that's what we need to do for ourselves. Just get in there. Don't be afraid. You can do this, and you can pull yourself out. But don't go in there too long. Give yourself a time limit, and then get yourself back, redirect, and give yourself some focus. So that's one thought that comes up. How about you, Diane?
Well, I agree with that. We were talking about the mind, body, spirit connection, right? Your body is a barometer. So it is telling you when something is off. So if you are having feelings of stress and overwhelm, that's your body's way of saying, hey, wait a second, we're getting ready to boil over here. I agree. I think it is healthiest to recognize, acknowledge your feelings, and then decide what you need to do. I learned a great technique from my buddy, Marianne Clyde. Just breathe, okay? Just breathe. So what I have my clients do, what I do, put my hand on my heart, because if I am stressed and overwhelmed, I know I'm too much up here. I imagine that I am breathing love in through the back of my heart, out through the front. And I'll do that like 10 times. And then I'll say, okay, what's true for me now? And often the drama that was true 10 minutes ago, that was a 10 plus is down to a 5. Maybe it's down to a 3. I have a different perspective because I've changed. That heart-brain coherence is just one that's easy for you all to do, and that will put it in perspective. And there will be times where you do need to panic, okay? You can have a good panic, but you still want to be coming from your clearest place, so you know how to best handle that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And thank you both. So now I have permission to panic and I have permission to have a pity party. So I'm
Just this long.
Thank you
Just
guys.
this long.
So another question that's kind of related to that came in was, okay, so we're going to meditate, right? But how do we do that? How do we shut out all that noise that goes on in your brain? What are you secrets? Do you have secrets?
Yeah, so I'm going to let Diane take that first, because you've got much more experience in that space than I do.
Well, first of all, I think part of the reason we get scared about meditation is because we all think we need to be in white flowing gowns on top of a mountaintop somewhere going om. You don't, okay? That's not where you have to be. Because there are so many types of people, so many types of personalities, our brains work in different ways, there are a lot of different ways to meditate. For people who are just starting out, just breathing. I mean, you're going to breathe anyway. Breathe consciously. Pay attention to your breath. That helps. a lot of times I will recommend a YouTube video on meditation by someone who was a mentor to me. That's Brendan Bouchard, and I think he just calls it the release meditation. It is super easy. All you're doing, now he recommends 20 minutes, which science tells us is the time it takes for your brain chemicals to switch. However, 3 minutes of meditation is, if that's what you're doing at first, that's great. All you do is shut your eyes and in a rhythmic way, just say release, release, release. Whatever that means to you, release the fear, release the attachment to things that I can't control. In that particular meditation, there's also some background music that helps your brain go into a different brain state. There's something called binaural beats, and you can find those all over YouTube. They're all free, that you can use for relaxation. You can also use them for concentration, but it's just a little extra way to help your brain relax. Actually, what Shari was talking about, being out in nature and being mindful of what you see, what you smell, what you feel without judgment is another great way to start a mindful practice that can lead into meditation. There are resources. I'm happy to give any, somebody wants to contact me privately, I'm sure they're all over the internet. That's one thing that's really great about technology. There's so many great resources and books available. Shari, what would you add?
Yeah, thanks, Diane. So for me, I had a really hard time with meditation when I first started. I think I started when I was 35. So it's almost 20 years now, but it can be hard. So the really nice thing is you can go, I suggest for people who are just starting out, just like what Diane said, the binaural beats are great, and the breath that Brendan Burchard, that's great. The other thing that's really great is let someone else do all the work. So I found Deepak Chopra. I love Deepak Chopra. He's got these little 10-minute videos all over YouTube. He does like a little meditation every morning, 10 minutes. He's talking the whole time through the thing, the little music in the background. All you have to do is follow. So that's a great way to start, is to follow someone else's a guided meditation, right? And then what happened for me was I got to the point where a guided meditation or music or beats or anything, way too much noise. I just needed absolute silence. So I have those days where it's absolute silence, sit in that little chair right there, as long as my dog's not in it. Sometimes the dog's underneath me and we meditate together. In fact, she wanted to come in today, but then she had to go out, so I didn't want to keep her in here. But anyway, the point there is make it as easy as possible on yourself and give yourself, again, permission to kind of let your mind drift. It's okay. Just notice that it's drifting and then just bring it back to breath. Notice it's drifting, bring it back to breath. It's all about noticing and awareness, and you'll eventually trust yourself to just settle into it. It'll eventually get better, but it's a practice. That's why they call it a meditation practice. It takes practice, and that's my own experience with that.
And you can't screw up. You just learn. That's it. You just, but even 3 minutes a day will make a difference. Just 3 minutes a day, and work up from there.
You guys, those are really good suggestions. Now, I've got one more question for you that, you made a point of being visible. And so what if you're in a business and you're afraid to get out there? You got to wear a mask. You're afraid to go anywhere. The option is to be visible on social media, but you're also paranoid about social media. Do you have any other options on how to be visible if you're not using social media? Any suggestions?
Oh yeah, this is the thing. I mean, we did have lives before social media, and we did have lives before electronics, and people were quite visible. So if you just think about going back into history, I mean, really, this is the technologies are extra awesome tools for us to use, but they don't replace basic human connection. So if you can pick up the phone, I've got I actually have a landline sitting right here because I live in the country and you never know, and sometimes that thing goes down. But you can always pick up the phone, you can shoot an email. Being visible doesn't mean you have to be visible to the world. Being visible just means you need to be visible to the people who can use your service, can use your strengths, can use your support, or what you may need yourself. So that's a little recon on your part. Do some reconnaissance. Who are these people? make yourself a little list, and then that takes some courage too, though, to make the phone call or to send the email so that you can connect and have I'd love to have a phone conversation with you for 10 minutes or so. So then you become visible to that person. The visible thing doesn't have to be, it's get on the radar, right? Get on the radar. Make yourself seen in the space. So what does that look like? It could be, all you have to do is be visible to one key person. You don't necessarily have to be visible to everyone in your work. There's a lot of pressure these days, especially with social media, that more is better and huge, expansive, broad reach. I'm here to tell you that that's not necessarily the case. Some of the folks that I know that I work with that are my clients and others have a very narrow client base, and they're deep, loyal, amazing clients. You just need to know, if you're in business, you need to know who you best serve, and you need to know what they want, need, be listening to them, especially now, so that you can be visible to 1, 2, or 3, and then you know the referral network starts working, right? Same is true if you're working for a company. Pick up the phone, call one of your colleagues, get to know them a little bit better. What are their thoughts on this whatever thing, project that you're working on? Or there's a million, just be creative. So don't let the whole technology world freak you out, stop you. You don't even have to have all the top technology. You don't need all that stuff, but you do need to be willing to have human connection.
So I'm really going to go old school. As soon as we hang up, I actually am going to do this thing called write a note. I'm writing a letter, I'm writing a note to a couple people. It's this thing, you put it in an envelope and a stamp goes on it and you go to the post office. So there are going to be some people, there you go, Sylvia's got one. They're going to be waking up and seeing a note from me that says, hey, just want to let you know, been thinking about you. I'm not asking for anything. It's just somebody's been on my mind. And how I know to do that is in my morning practice after my meditation. I have a journaling practice and I ask the same thing every day. Love, what would you most have me know today? And I will often hear, contact this person, this person, this person. And then I do it.
Those are great suggestions, and all the more reason why I think you're both amazing. So thank you so much. Your points were well taken. I got notes here to deepen trust and relationship, technology, agility, be visible, collaborate. Thank you so much for giving us some really tangible tools that we can use. So Shari and Diane, you are and continue to be amazing.